Okay, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wednesday night's Supperheroes Cook-Along. And tonight, we have a very special treat for you. We are doing a partnership with Black River CrossFit. And Black River CrossFit, my office used to be in Black River Park and Observatory in Cape Town. And back in the day, we used to CrossFit like every single day at lunchtime. And obviously, most boxes and in fact, most gyms around the world at the moment are shut because of the COVID-19 pandemic, for those of you watching this in 5 years' time. And so all the gyms and boxes are trying to find ways to engage with their communities. Sorry, while Kate just turns her phone on mute. And so we have a whole lot of special guests tonight, and those are all the Black River CrossFit members. So welcome. If you're here, like the post, leave a comment, say how's it. And we've got Ron over here. How's it, Ron? How's it going?
Sorry, just unmuting myself. I've got a couple of kids around me. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, and lovely to be here with you, John. I'm excited to make some memories here in the kitchen.
Make some memories. That's awesome. So, Kate, can you put the Greg Glassman quote up?
Absolutely.
Okay, so very important. Okay, Greg Glassman, a couple of years ago, he wrote down what fitness is in 100 words. And for those of you who don't know, CrossFit's like the biggest exercise cult in the world. Some people do believe it is a religion. Ron, you are a what is it, like a bishop?
Archbishop.
An archbishop of the religion. And he wrote a summary of fitness in 100 words. And what's very interesting is that the first like 15 or 20 odd words of his 100 words of fitness relate to food. And I'm just going to lean over and read it. So he says, eat meat and vegetables, very important, nuts and seeds, some fruit with little starch and no sugar. And that's basically what we do at Real Meal Revolution. And I'm glad you put that right up first, because it means it's the most important part of fitness. So Ron, we're gonna kick you out of studio and bring you back in a little bit later when we start cooking the. Okay, well there he goes. Not even a chance to say goodbye. Check you later, but we'll bring Ron back in when we're grilling tomatoes to have a little conversation about fitness. So I'm just going to run through all the prep, and then we're going to get started. And the reason I chose this menu, it's slightly more complicated than usual. CrossFit athletes like to push themselves, so this is a little bit of a stretch compared to the normal menu. But more importantly, when I was in England on my gap year, we used to eat kebabs on a bender, and most of South Africa are now allowed to drink. So I thought we'd have a kebab night tonight. So if you are eating the carbohydrates and you have your pita, this is a lamb shawarma that you can do in your own house. So I hope you've got a glass of wine or a beer if that's your flavor. So let's get cracking. There's a comment there from Facebook. Okay.
Yes, John Whitelaw is preparing Greek chops in Scotland.
Ah, lekker, John. That's good to hear. So the order we're going to do it tonight is, okay, we're going to grill tomatoes and cabbage, and then we're going to grill the lamb, and then we're going to make the sauce, and then finally we're going to smash it in our faces. And so the very first thing you got to do is pump your oven up as hot as you can, get your oven onto grill, and then full temperature, and then fire up your griddle pan and get that as hot as possible. If you're doing this at home and you've got a braai going, then you don't need a griddle pan. And if you have a gas braai, light up your gas braai, because it's going to be much easier to do it outside. You're going to be a lot less smoky. It's the only smoking you're allowed to do in South Africa at the moment. I like that, Kate. That's good. Okay, so we're going to get your tomatoes ready. And then, look, in the recipe ingredients, so we're going to cook the cabbage and the tomatoes sort of in the same pan. And what I'm looking for is like cabbage steaks like this. So if you're looking from above, cabbage steak. So I said, take half a medium-sized cabbage and cut it into quarters. This was quite a big cabbage. And I've got these. So if your wedges are like bigger than this, you can cut them in half again. But this is obviously just for Kate and I. So we're doing the recipe in half. And we're going to char grill these to get a nice smoky flavor, and then chop it up and turn it into a slaw. And the same goes for the tomatoes. So in the tomato recipe, I said you've got to have a tray, and then you got to have your tomatoes cut in half. So I want you to pop your tomatoes on the tray and then take that olive oil that's in the tomato recipe and just douse it over the douse. Is that the right word?
Good word.
Yeah, douse. Okay. Douse them. And what you see, what we want to do is we want the tomato to hit the griddle pan, but we don't want it to stick. So you just kind of want to give it a little layer of oil so that it's shiny like that. So you just put them face down in the pan. You want to just oil them up, each one. And you want to try and get some on the back as well, because when this oil gets underneath the grill, it's going to give you some blackened tomatoes. So the idea is to actually get some black on every single tomato. Okay. And then while we're waiting for this griddle pan to heat up, we can do exactly the same with the cabbage wedges. You can do it in a different pan, the same pan, it doesn't matter. But basically, see my angle here. There we go. Just give your cabbage wedges a little bit of an oiling so that they're shiny. Pardon? I'm being told not to forget the salt and pepper. Maybe I'll put a little splash of extra oil in here. Okay. You can go wide, Nick, if you like, briefly. And for those of you watching and not cooking, this is what we do every Wednesday. We do a cook-along. And the idea of the cook-along is to make sure you get at least one healthy meal every week. But it is also to stretch you, you know, to push you out of your comfort zone in the kitchen, but with a view to moving the focus. You see a lot of my audience is banting or keto. And the idea is really to push your focus away from trying to lose weight and be, you know, and restrict yourself, and rather to focus on developing a skill. Nick, you can bring up the 2-camera look again. To focus on building a skill. Because if your attention is drawn to cooking delicious things and learning new techniques, it takes the focus off like restriction and whatever. And I mean, what you'll see from this meal is that there's nothing restricting about it at all. Okay, so I got my tomatoes, and what I want to do now is give them a solid grinding of salt and black pepper. Finished my black pepper, which is awesome. Here we go. All right, so if any of you are still getting yourselves together, you've got some time to catch up, because I've got to load my pepper shaker.
I can see Leon wielding a knife.
Hey, Leon wielding a knife.
Yeah.
What, is there a photo?
He's in the feed.
So once we start grilling the tomatoes, I'm going to get some of the CrossFit coaches in to come and talk. And I'm quite excited. We're going to have a little conversation about the future of the health and fitness industry for the next year, because it's obviously changed dramatically. You know, I used to do these demos in front of crowds, and here I am in my kitchen at home with my wife, you know. Thank goodness there's someone looking after our kids. Yeah, Pepper Pig's looking after my children right now. Alrighty, so Pepper.
Ben Gardner's going to try and watch this tomorrow. He's trying to cook this tomorrow. He's watching it today.
Lekker. Cool. Ben's also in England. Okay, and so we've got salt, pepper, and my griddle pan's starting to get hot. I'm almost certain this griddle pan's going to stick. So I'm going to actually take, for the very first time, and only this time, I'm going to give this pan a little bit of oil. But I don't want to give it too much, because the rule of the griddle pan is that if you oil the pan, it doesn't actually work. So I'm just going to oil the ribs here. Lightly. Do not pour oil into the griddle pan. It'll end in tears. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we're going to start grilling. And once I start grilling, we're going to have your choice. Who would you like to join first, Ron or Leon? Choose your favorite. There we go. Okay, so let's start grilling. And I'll wait to see who gets dropped into the studio. Who we got? There he is.
It's Ronnie, the Godfather.
The Godfather. So for those of you who don't know, Ron is the co-founder of Black River CrossFit.
Not co-founder.
Not the co-founder.
No, I'm one of the co-founders with Leon and Andrew back in the day, about 7 years ago now.
Wowzers, eh? So do you want to talk to us a little bit about why you decided to do a sort of partnership cook-along for your crew?
Yeah, so we've obviously been in lockdown, and that's impacted our gym and our members, and so we've kind of had to. CrossFit's all about community; it's community-driven, and so part of our initiatives during lockdown have been to sort of come up with community challenges or events that can kind of keep us connected and keep us together. So for the first month, we had an old school inter-house challenge. So think of school, you arrive, you get put in one of the houses, and you're basically accountable to that house. So we had a challenge for the kind of the hard lockdown where you were encouraged to exercise every day, eat healthy, and log points for your house, and then there were prizes for the winning house. That was in the stage 5 lockdown. Our stage 4 challenge was all around nutrition and kind of lifestyle improvements. So we looked at, everyone basically had a nutrition goal and a fitness goal and a lifestyle goal, and we try to kind of keep everyone accountable to those things. So this is kind of the end of our nutrition challenge, and so we thought it would be cool to get everyone together while the focus is on nutrition and yeah, just have some fun. And
what is I know that I think CrossFit typically, according to the rules, you do the zone diet. How does that differ from low carb?
Jeez, what a great question, John. You'd probably be better equipped to answer that. I'm not necessarily following a CrossFit-based zone diet. So as I understand it, with that zone diet, you get basically points allocated to different foods, and you eat basically in proportion to the different food groups. I don't know necessarily how that compares to a low carb diet. Leon would probably be better prepped to answer that question.
Okay. Well, next question then. So obviously you guys are remodeling because you're not sure how long it's going to be till the next, the next phase, and whether or not gyms are even allowed to be open. So what are you guys doing now to try and keep the business going, but also keep the community galvanized, in the next phase?
Yeah, look, what a great question. It's been very challenging. I know that there are a lot of both gyms, yoga studios, etc., that are really struggling. And I think the reality is that they're not going to be group style classes, which is really what CrossFit is all about, for a while now. And so I suppose the earlier you can adapt and change and move with the times, the better equipped you'll be to last over the longer term. So for us, CrossFit's very community based. It's important to keep that community together. And for us, it's about giving people the tools to kind of manage their own fitness a little bit better. So what I mean by that is, where CrossFit is great, you don't have to think about it. You rock up, you're there with all your mates, you do the workout of the day. You don't necessarily have to think of your own programming. All the equipment's there for you, and you're there basically to have fun, but in a structured environment. And so the best way so how we are adapting is that we've kind of evolved into a focus on the individual. So if you want to train effectively by yourself, you kind of need a plan. And for the guys that have been coming to CrossFit, it's helpful to have some equipment. So you're used to working out with a kettlebell and a dumbbell and an assault bike, a skipping rope, etc., etc. So we've kind of pivoted our model into a basic model, which is kind of a cheap way to stay connected. So we've got a base model that kind of allows you to join in on all of our group Zoom classes and get involved there. And then the kind of next iteration there is you get to rent equipment from the gym. So we've made all of our equipment available to members to rent on a kind of a piecemeal basis. And then if you get further along, then we started offering personalized nutrition programs and personal training programs. So what that's allowed us to do is that it's kind of changed the value proposition for members who were paying fees and kind of coming to our Zoom classes. Now there's a kind of a better value proposition in that you can be paying the same fees, but now get a barbell at home and a kettlebell at home and someone that's giving you a program every day and keeping you accountable to that. So that's kind of how we pivot things. We're going to see how that transpires and how the kind of the community gets behind that. But I think it's a cool time to experiment with giving you the tools to manage your own fitness, right? Because that's what CrossFit is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Ron, I just want to take a second to talk about the food for a second. Kate, can you just take the banner off so that they can see what's happening in my pan here? Ron, don't go anywhere. Okay. So this is what I got here. What I'm looking for is some char on your tomato like this. So let's just see if I can move there we go. So I want that kind of color on the tomato. And we may or may not grill them. But so if your tomato's got some color, take it off and put it face down in the pan like this. And then we're going to take it from there and bang it under the grill in the oven. But basically, we wanted some char grill lines. It's going to give it like a nice smoky flavor. And this is what's going to go into our char grilled tomato relish. And okay, so this is going to go in. I'm going to put these in the oven now. So everyone pop your tomatoes in the oven. Ron, I'm coming now. And then next on the agenda is the cabbage steaks, really. So these can actually get quite nicely burnt because it's actually quite pleasant. So throw your cabbage in the pan, and then we're going to make our marinade for the lamb. So, and then start making these skewers. So push that cabbage down, make sure it's getting some griddle lines on it. And then we're going to take all of our, and Ron, I want to see what you're doing in your kitchen, because I've heard you've made me like almost cry, which is quite an emasculating experience. And I'd like to see how the action's looking in your kitchen while we're doing this. So we're going to take...
There's a lot of activity going on here, I'll be honest with you. So I'll take in the third just now.
Okay, cool. So we want to take our jug for the lamb marinade, and we're going to chuck in our, this is hot, it's been sitting next to the griddle pan. We're going to chuck in our, like the onion that we cut into chunks. We're going to add our sumac. And we had half or a quarter of a cup of white wine. And I think we had a quarter of a cup of olive oil. Just like half of that. And then there was some thyme and some rosemary. So for those of you who got the first book, you'll remember that, hey? No, Ron's there. So basically, this is kind of similar to za'atar, which is this like Middle Eastern spice mixture. It's got thyme, oregano, sumac, and so these are the same flavors from like the lime and sumac rump skewers, but we're just basically restructuring them or deconstructing them and chucking them in. So, okay, so a tablespoon of oregano. I know it was chopped oregano. I'm just throwing it in there. And then you want to blitz that, and you're going to pour it over the lamb, and then we're going to start skewering the lamb. And then we'll keep chatting. Just want to catch up to myself here. Oregano. Okay, Ron, I'm going to come back to you in like a few seconds because I just want to do the skewering demo, and then we'll chat again, and then you can give me your tour. Okay.
Good.
Nick. There we go. Okay. Okay, so here's your marinade. This is what it should look like. It's a good angle. Okay. Take your stick blender. For those of you who are not part of the CrossFit community, this is our very first Wednesday cook along with a guest. So we're also testing something new. You know, I'd love some feedback, what you think of like the guest look and feel. If you've got something bad to say, maybe send me a private message. But you know, it's another way we can enjoy spread the love of the cook along. Okay, so just blitz this until it's super smooth. check in on your cabbage. Hey, the charred cabbage.
Looks good.
It's going to be.
Never done it before.
Yeah, I've never done it before.
No,
I haven't either. No, I didn't. Okay, so put some salt and pepper in here. Thanks, Kate. Let's pop it from here. There we go. So you're going to just throw in some pepper. Okay, I'm just seasoning this with some salt and pepper. What's that? What, season the lamb in the tray? You're bossing me around and then you're giving me mixed messages. Damn it. Like our whole life. Okay, so once you got your marinade ready, it should be kind of runny. Throw it over your lamb, which I have here. So I've sliced my lamb. I said 2 millimeters. You can go anywhere up to like 5 millimeters, really. And then you just want to cover all these pieces with the lamb marinade and then get them mixed up. And at this point, I think the cabbage should be done. Cabbage is done. So this is what your cabbage should look like. Some of it's fallen apart. That's fine. That's your cabbage. There we go. How are those tomatoes?
They are done.
They are done. Okay. Okay, now I want you to leave your griddle pan on the whole time we have the rest of this conversation. And the instruction now before we go and have the chat with Ron coming back is basically to mix the lamb in the marinade. So get your hands nice and dirty, mix it all around, and yeah, like get it properly in there. So you want to get all those flavors mixed into the lamb. And you know, if you were preparing this on a weekend away or a weekend and not doing a cook along, you could actually mix this all like the day before. You could also swap the white wine for yogurt. In fact, that was the original recipe, and I took the yogurt out because CrossFitters don't eat dairy, and to be honest, Kate doesn't eat dairy either, so we just thought we'd have a dairy-free alternative. When I say CrossFitters don't eat dairy, I mean like according to the real rules of the Greg Glassman doesn't eat dairy. Okay. Okay, so the cabbage is done. I'm going to grab my tomatoes out and we're going to skewer the lamb. And that's what the tomatoes look like. There we go. You can see they're nice and charred. Get those crispy charred bits. Okay, so set that aside and let them cool. Over there, I'm going to let your cabbage cool because we're going to chop those a bit later once we've sealed off the lamb. And now we're going to prep our lamb. So I've got a variety of different skewers here. I've got these super thick ones. Then I've got these thin bamboo skewers. And I actually picked these up a while back, which are, I got them from LK Braai Supplies or whatever they're called. And I thought, wow, these are thick skewers, but they're actually tent pegs. So they literally just took tent pegs and then they branded them as braai skewers. So you can use tent pegs if you like. I'm going to use the thick Woolworths variety. They just about fit in the pan, which is great. Hey, at an angle. Yeah, cool. And then just start skewering. So you want to spread the meat over these two skewers and that's it. and then I'm going to put them in this tray over here. So while we're doing that, we're going to have another little conversation about CrossFit. So Nick, if you can find Ron, send him back in. There he is.
I'm back, guys. Jono, I've got a question for you. Where are you getting your food from at the moment?
Yep.
Are you ordering online? Are you going to buy? And what's your strategy here?
Well, so at the moment we're getting food we get our vegetables from Pick and Pay and Woolworths, but we buy our meat from Frankie Fenner, to be honest. And we've also got a great butchery in our area called Black Forest Butchery. And they've got a small farm just outside of Cape Town where they farm a lot of their own pigs. But generally, we try and stay away from factory farm meat. In fact, that's one of the reasons we don't eat dairy anymore, because it's very difficult to get dairy that's like, what we call woke. In other words, like free range, pasture reared, organic, etc. We try to stay away from anything that's got like hormones in it. What's that?
The name of the hormone they give to beef?
Yeah.
It's called Zilmax.
Zilmax. So Kate wants to stay away from Zilmax. And also the animals get treated nicer. They still die, but I mean, they do get treated better. Is that the right answer to the question?
No, I'm just interested to know. And so you're going to to Pick and Pay. What's your strategy? Are you bombing in there at 6 a.m. with full combat gear, or what's your vibe?
Yeah, so good question. Yeah, I mean, when we do hit Pick and Pay, we do wait outside the door at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because they open at 8, so at like 7:45 we're there, and then like just buy what we need and get out of there, and I mean, and buying once a week typically. So if we need to get meat, obviously the butchery is very small and they don't really have big queues, so that's not much of an issue. But yeah, Pick and Pay is a hack. I mean, if there was a better way to get produce that's of better quality delivered to the door, then I would do that. There are a few food clubs, but yeah. So I mean, in a perfect world, I would be part of a food club, but I think I just haven't got my act together yet. But that would be my strategy.
Food club.
So food club. Let me just show you guys this. This is what we're trying to look. This is what we're getting here. We want to get like a big skewer stacked with this meat. Okay, we want it to be like full on and packed as tightly as possible, because what we're going to do is once it's all grilled, we're going to carve it like you would a kebab on a stick, like for a shawarma.
Is it going into the oven?
Yeah.
Is the oven there?
Yeah. Did you turn my oven off?
Yes.
No, man. So a food club, Ron. Yeah. So keep your oven on full, but you can take off the grill function, everyone. If the grill function's on when we get there, that's also not the end of the world. A food club is like, so the problem with really good quality organic produce is it's usually prepared in really small batches, and they usually don't have their own distribution, these farms. So what you've got is, it started off as a few like key individuals. And what they did was they built like their own networks of farmers, organic veg producers, cattle ranchers or whatever. Yeah. And they said, okay, well, I'll get a whole lot of mates to club together, and then we'll order food in bulk so that it's like worth the farmer's while to actually drive out and deliver the food. And then we'll all meet in a central point and like share it out in bags. And so it's given rise to this food club movement in Cape Town. So there's one in our area called the Good Food Club, and they get all the same beef that a lot of the big guy, the really expensive shops get, like Frankie Fenner, for instance. But you can actually buy the same beef that Frankie Fenner gets, from a food club. You just have to buy like quite a lot. So you'd have to buy like 10 kilos. And then that would, you put that in the freezer, and then you've got your meat for the year. So food clubs are the best way to go. And in fact, one of the guys who follows my page is launching a food club app in a few months' time, where it'll connect the food club manager with all the different farms in the area, so that they can actually better manage the finances and the processes of running a food club, which is really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to start on a huge rant about factory farmed food, but you know, anyone who knows what I do and what our message is would know that that's totally not acceptable.
Sure.
Ron, what's happening there? Why don't you give us a tour? How far are you guys?
So I'm here with David and Astrid. We've been in lockdown together since day one. So we often refer to each other as our day ones. They've been with us. So Dave is over there. How's it, guys?
How's it?
And there's Astrid. She's still on the decks there with the cabbage. We're doubling up the recipe. You going half, we're going double trouble, so that we've got some dirty stuff for tomorrow.
Nice.
And yeah, so Dave is busy marinating the lamb. I'd say he's probably, like, if I'm Archbishop, he's kind of middle management. Astrid is working hard. He's in the bathroom trying to keep the kids from murdering each other. So that's what's good now at the moment. Yeah.
That's a critical task during lockdown and life, actually.
Yeah, so once a week we get together and we come up with our menu for the week, and then on a Friday morning, Dave and I do a big shop with all the ingredients and stuff. So that's been quite a cool little thing. That's quite a cool little project that we've got going on now in lockdown. And for Christmas I got a sous vide stick. So we've been doing some dirty things with that.
Ooh, yeah, that's very fancy. Hey, sous vide, very cool.
So we did a sous vide rack of lamb and sous vide creme brulee on Sunday night.
Wowz.
And people were raving about it, John. I know your kebabs and stuff are quite sick, but the stuff we've been doing is world class.
I mean, a sous vide creme brulee sounds like an absolutely that's like so advanced. I don't know if I could actually. I wouldn't even know where to start with a sous vide creme brulee. That's insane.
Well, it's not CrossFit. I'll tell you that much for free to start off with.
That fits into no healthy diet paradigm whatsoever.
But myself and Dave are thinking of doing like a cook-along type vibe. So if you want to Skype in on Monday, we can teach you how to make it.
I'd be honored to join. Okay, so now I'm going to grill the lamb off. Okay, so for those of you watching, if you're worried about it sticking to the pan, it's definitely going to stick to the pan. So I think come to terms with that reality. I'm going to give a little splash of oil, just because when I did the tomatoes and the cabbage, it wasn't quite smoky enough in here. So I'm going to just smoke it up a little bit more. But I'm just going to give them a quick layer of oil. And basically what you're going for is like some strong color. You want this to be like super charred on the outside. So if it gets a little bit burnt, it's not burnt. It's slightly caramelized. There's no such thing as being burnt in a professional kitchen. It's only caramelized. And so if you think your griddle pan needed a clean, I hope you've cleaned it. Mine's only got a few black specks on it, which isn't going to hurt anyone. And here I go. And I'm going to turn the noise up in a second because I got my fan ready to fire. Yeah. Okay. And Ron, if you can't hear me, it's because of the sizzle. There we go. Oh yeah, you thought I was joking.
That looks like there's some serious caramelization going down there.
Yeah, no, it's pretty intense. Let me turn my fan on. And you can turn that door, open that door as well. There we go. I don't know if that's made it any better. It's just getting me in the face. Can you see me through the smoke? Okay. Yeah, it should smell quite nice. If it doesn't, then it's definitely not because of the recipe.
So, Jono, when you're not cooking up a gourmet style meal there, what's your go-to there on a Sunday night just before the Saturday night movie? You've got 2 kids on the go. What's a quick and easy thing to pop in? What's your go-to?
Yeah, so go-to's good question actually. So I don't know, Kate, like what are our regulars? So we have a few a few that we have every week. So we always have gourmet burgers. We always have bunless burgers or like gluten-free burgers like we had last week. But on a Sunday night, I mean, we used to have a tradition of, okay, I'm just turning this guy. We have a tradition of gluten-free tomato pasta on a Sunday night. I think in our earlier life, it would have been just a normal pasta, but now we've gone gluten-free. And then what else do we do? We used to have gammon steaks. We used to do a lot of chicken soup and a lot of like Weber chicken, but it's very difficult to get good quality chicken that isn't like hormoned up to within an inch of its life. So we actually have only eaten chicken twice this year. And then we do a lot of good quality sausages. We do bangers and bangers on the braai. What else? And then some good beef, yeah, like a steak. And then quite a lot of vegetarian stuff, yeah. So a lot of like chickpea salads. Pretty much chickpea salads and grilled vegetables. Yeah, is that the right answer?
I don't think there is a right answer.
Yeah.
What do your kids think of grilled vegetables and a chickpea salad? Because mine aren't high-fiving each other aggressively as they're listening to this.
No, I'll be honest. There, like my kids are not that interested in grilled in chickpeas, but our kids have interesting palate. Like especially our oldest, she's 5. And she eats rare steak. So every time we have steak or we cook lamb ribs on the braai, lamb ribs also a popular favorite. She actually comes and steals some from us. So she'll have like bangers and mash with peas and carrots and stuff as a main meal, and then she'll sit down with us for dinner and have an extra lamb rib. She just doesn't like flavoring. So when we add like a marinade or lemon juice or anything to the meat, she doesn't dig it. She's a very like purist palate, I'd say. Yeah. What are some of the things you wish your child would eat?
Geez, some veggies would be a real treat, eh? Holly's not bad. They both love broccoli. Broccoli, they're big fans of tomatoes and bits of avo. Jack's one, so he's at that stage where he's picking up pieces of cucumber and avo and kind of getting into the vibe there. But I'd say majority of vegetables they're not excited about. They're not pumped.
Yeah. A snacky supper, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who it was. I think it's actually like someone I work with. She said she's convinced that fruit is vegetables for children, and I tend to agree. Like, you know, vegetables are the golden standard. But like, if you can get your child to eat like melon and strawberries and cucumber, then you've won at least, like, you've gotten some nutrients into them. And we've found that relatively easy, getting them to eat fruit. Do they eat fruit?
Yeah, they love fruit. They love all the berries, love the melon, and we've actually got also for lockdown we got a juicer, and so they like the juice as well. Not too sweet. We've got a couple of good go-to recipes there, but it's a good way of getting a little. Sorry, not Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real.
They love fruit, bananas, pineapple, melons. They'll hit that long before they hit a little cucumber and broccoli salad.
Lekker. Ron, 1 second there. Okay, so for those on the page with us, we want to get color like that. Once it's nice and charred, stick it back on the tray, and then I'm just going to excuse myself for a second while I put this smoking pan outside. And Kate, can you open that door so I can turn off the fan, please? Okay, so now that we're here, the heavy lifting is done as far as cooking goes. Now it's just a matter of like getting it all together. I'm gonna just give another splash of oil to these, what do we call them? Shish kebabs. Just because when they go in the oven, that oil is gonna help give them some heat. Well, it's just gonna help assist the heat really in getting them going. And now I'm gonna flip my board over and we're going to get ready with the final ingredients. So we're going to make the tarator, which is this sesame sauce. We're going to char grill the tomatoes. We're going to take the char grilled tomatoes and turn them into the smoky tomato relish. And we're going to make the cabbage salad, which I'm very excited about. So both of these are adaptations of recipes that I had in low carb cooking. In fact, here's a shameless punt. So that photograph that you saw in the promo, that's from this book, which is called Low Carb Cooking. It's the 4th edition of the Real Meal Revolution cookbook series. And then you'll see in that picture, which is over there, we've got the tomatoes and the sliced red onions. So we're not doing it exactly like that. We're going to chop the tomatoes and mix the red onion in together. But basically, it's supposed to be similar. And then instead of the tzatziki, which you see in the photo over there, we're doing the cabbage salad. I can't get that thing to stand up, so it's just going to have to wait. Okay. So now I will grab, the tomatoes first. So your tomatoes should be nice and cool, and not, it's instinct that you want to throw away the burnt skin, but don't throw away the burnt skin. Just chop it up and throw it into the relish. You can't. It's not even in frame, so don't worry about it. Yeah. No one in this house is OCD, unless they're OCD. Okay. Ron, how far are you? Because I've actually never been live with someone else who's been cooking along.
So Davey's headed outside to the barbecue to grill the lamb. The tomatoes are done. We're pretty much on track.
Okay. So are you chopping tomatoes while I'm chopping tomatoes?
We're chopping tomatoes. I've just finished chopping the that was a bit earlier, the red onion. But yeah, we're pretty much just behind you.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I wonder. I was speaking to someone else the other day, and they said that the cook-along was fun, but it was quite intense. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, look, if I didn't have staff here working for me, it'll be a different story, John. But that's, big thing about COVID is leadership, and for me, it's important that the guys under me are well prepped. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
John, tell me, you've been out of CrossFit for a while. What are you doing fitness-wise, and what do you miss about CrossFit?
Geez, well, I'll tell you, I'm so stingy about my time, and that's the only reason I've been out of CrossFit, because I moved offices back home. And so the first thing I'd like to say is I miss it so much that it's I crave it, because it's, to be honest, when I quit drinking, CrossFit was my drug of choice. So I miss it a hell of a lot. And so, yeah, I've have a private relationship with my old CrossFit coach, or one of your CrossFit coaches, Luke. And so I've been doing training in the studio. In fact, just on the other side of these cameras, we meet on Zoom once a week for a private session. I rented some kettlebells and a wall ball and a few dumbbells. And then I've been running. But obviously running has been quite tough during lockdown. So pretty much just been trying to watch what I eat to make sure I don't turn into a whale, basically. That's all I can say, yeah. But yeah, I miss CrossFit. Okay. That's parsley goes into this?
Tomatoes, red onion, basil.
Okay, so red onion goes in.
Basil.
And basil. Okay, I've got all the parsley here. What is the parsley? Okay, the parsley goes into the cabbage salad. Okay, so you want to get half a handful of basil. You should probably have your basil chopped. Is your basil chopped, Ron?
My basil is not chopped, but you've reminded me. I've got it right here in front of me, and I'll get on to that.
Okay, good. Ron's on the pass, the leader of the pack. Okay, basil, and then salt and pepper, and a splash of vinegar. So I'm using, this is actually raspberry vinegar, but you could use whatever vinegar you want, cherry vinegar, red wine vinegar, just a splash. That's probably enough. And then like you want to season this really well. Make sure those tomatoes have got plenty of salt. Don't be shy with the pepper either. And no garlic in this one, okay?
So how am I chopping these, John? Just roughly.
What, the tomatoes?
No, the basil.
Oh, no, just like kind of what we call in the food industry, just run your knife through it. So it can be pretty, if you have a look in here.
Yeah, got you.
Okay.
John Stanley says, this is a long recipe. Hard cut, not in the CrossFit way, the level 3 way.
Oh, John Stanley. Okay, so now, and then just a splash of olive oil. Olive oil does go in your hair, Kate.
Yes.
Okay, good. And then mix it all around. We've got a child on its way here. I can hear it in the background. We're about to have this party crashed.
How are your children doing out of school?
Yeah, it's been tough, eh? I think that homeschooling a matric is a very different experience to homeschooling a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so, I mean, like for us, it's been kind of tough. Do you want to come in? Yeah, there we go. Mummy's gone out there. All right, are you good? Sweet, man. Sorry, I stepped into your broadcast. Bye. All right. Katie, I've got this covered, so if you want to take the kids, you go for it, okay? All right, that's it. Kate's out with no choice. Okay, Nick, can you do the banners, please? All right, so that's how homeschooling is going, Ron. To answer your question.
Cool.
Okay, so next task, we've got our tomato salsa mixed up, and it should look like this. There we go. How's that? Can you see that? I've got some lights in here this time. Whoa. Whoa. There we go. Okay. So next, what you're going to do is take your cabbage, and we're just going to give it a rough chop. You chop it as finely as you can, because obviously the more finely you can chop it, the more you can fit into your pita or your carb if you're having it with a carb. Otherwise, you could probably get away with not chopping it at all. But I'm just going to run my knife through it to break it up. This is also an adaptation of that recipe that you would have seen in the photograph. That recipe, we just serve the cabbage wedges like this, whereas I'm actually going to chop them up. And we're just going to add the remaining ingredients of the cabbage salad to this here bowl. Nick, are there any comments that you want to bring up? We've got Nick standing, a million miles away, managing this whole broadcast, changing camera angles and stuff. I'm waiting. But yeah, Ron, I must say, I found it very difficult to stay fit, actually, at home. Like, there's only so much, I don't know, I just found it really sort of demoralizing exercising my own.
So is it a motivation thing?
Pardon?
Is it a motivation thing? Because I mean, you like to set yourself challenges and kind of go for a goal. So what's your goal at the moment?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I think my goal was actually that's exactly it. So just putting the ingredients for the cabbage, just adding them in. So a tablespoon of mustard, that's a very heaped teaspoon, and I think it was half a teaspoon or quarter of a teaspoon of these chili flakes. Let me just remember this recipe quickly because I've lost the actual real person in control of all of this. Then it's garlic, and then I think there was lemon juice and lemon zest, and some olive oil. So 1 clove of garlic, I think. And I'm going to just leave it like roughly chopped like that. But I think it says minced in the recipe. Oh no, minced is for the tarator, which we're going to get to now. So finally, garlic, obviously salt and pepper, plenty of pepper, plenty of salt, and then a handful of this finely chopped parsley. I'm going stalks and all because I want it to be a bit crunchy and I want it to give me that nice fresh burst. So finely chop that parsley. Yeah, so my friends and I, we actually entered the wild run, which is a 110-kilometer run from Hole in the Wall from the Kai River mouth to Hole in the Wall in the Eastern Cape. And it's due in September, but we're not sure if it's going to go ahead because obviously, I think they only let 100 people do it. So it might be just under the threshold for an event for 100 people. But obviously I'm hoping that they let it run through. But yeah, so obviously like needing to train for that, we were on such a good wicket because we started training in December. So I'm just adding lemon zest and then I'm going to put some lemon juice into this cabbage salad.
I actually think Leon's done the wild run.
Who?
Leon.
Yeah, I think he did do it actually.
And I think he got offered an entry about 2 weeks before he ran. So it was a last minute thing, and I think he did pretty well.
Yeah, that's like when you're a real machine. You enter a 100K race 2 weeks before and you kind of do okay. It's definitely in a different league to me. That's crazy. Okay, so lemon juice, lemon zest, Dijon mustard. I think I've got everything in here. Salt, pepper, chili flakes, and well, I can't see the recipe now, but I'm just assuming there's a big splash of olive oil and then like a handful of chopped parsley. So it's kind of like, if you look at the lemon zest, the lemon juice and the parsley, it's got the same flavors that you get in a gremolata, which is usually used to add freshness to an ossobuco, which is an Italian stew. But this is also quite a rich flavoursome lamb dish. So it's offering the freshness, but then it's also got the cabbaginess, which is what you typically add to a lamb shawarma. So we're kind of like marrying Turkish cuisine with Italian today in this particular recipe. Okay, so mix that all around. You want to make sure you give it a proper mix to let that mustard spread through. And then the final thing we're going to do, so your oven should be still super hot. Now that I've done my cabbage, got my cabbage, got my tomatoes, got my lamb. I'm going to put my lamb in the oven and finish it off. So this is like the last step. If you're gonna wait to eat later, hold back on putting the lamb in. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the lamb in. Then we're going to make the tarator, which is a very, very quick recipe for tahini sauce. I'm going to clean up. And by the time I'm finished making the sauce and cleaning up, it'll be time to serve. Okay, so if you're ready to rock and roll, pop your lamb in the oven. And it should be at like roughly full blast with the grill on. Are you guys cooking all the way through on the braai?
David's just busy. Yeah, I think that's the plan. We've got the oven ready to go here. So if we're doing something wrong, then there's time to pull back.
There's time to claw back.
Astrid just on here on the relish. She's going back on the Facebook page to try and work out where we lost you. Well, I'll be honest, it's falling apart here, man.
Yeah. Okay, so I can give you the quick recap. In fact, it'll probably be useful for everyone. So the tomato relish is the char grilled tomatoes and the sliced red onion with a handful of basil, salt, pepper, a tiny bit of vinegar, and some olive oil. Olive oil, vinegar, red onion, basil. Okay, char grilled tomatoes. Then the cabbage salad is the char grilled cabbage with the mustard and the chili flakes, the lemon zest, the lemon juice, olive oil, Dijon mustard. I think I said mustard twice there. And then like lots and lots of parsley, so like a handful of chopped parsley. And then finally, we're going to make tarator. And this recipe is super easy. So you just take, I think this is a half a cup of tahini. And just pour that in. I hope your members are sufficiently challenged by this, because I did try and make this like a CrossFit WOD, like a WOD-worthy cook-along. I didn't want it to be like easy.
No, look, you've given everyone bar muscle ups in their first WOD at the box. So let's see if they come back.
In fact, I don't know if you remember the first time. Sorry, so I'm just mincing this clove of garlic. In fact, I'm not even going to mince it. I'm just going to microplane it. But the first CrossFit, I did your launch pad back in 2016, and Leon was teaching us how to squat, and we had to squat and run in the parking lot. And basically, I was like, no, it's way too boring for me, and I didn't come back until like a year later, basically, when I got to experience a barbell and some fire, breathing fire. So I think it takes a special kind of person to get into it. Like, you want to feel that near death experience and be like, okay, now I feel really alive and I'm ready for more.
Well, I think it's about variety. So I think that the issue with coming to CrossFit once is that if you come on a day, if we program in cycles. So one day might be a chill day because you're recovering from 2 days ago still, right? So if you arrive on the chill day, you might think, actually, this isn't for me because it's super chill. And conversely, if you arrive on the day that you're doing a 40-minute EMOM style workouts and you're dead afterwards, and you're like, I can't do this every day. So we kind of feel like you've got to come there for 2 weeks to experience what it is before you make a judgment call there. So I'm not surprised you left after some air squats and running.
Yeah. No, you're right. You need to actually take, because it is really about a whole week. I agree. And just so everyone missed what I was doing there, I just added the lemon juice and a minced clove of garlic to this. And this is how easy the sauce is. So you mix it around, and you can use a spoon for this, actually. I just don't have a tablespoon. So you mix the lemon juice and the tahini, and you'll see it like kind of cakes up and sticks to the whisk, and that's great, because the next thing you do is you just take water and you just add water, and then you whisk it again. And basically what you're doing with the water is just getting it to the right consistency. And you want it to be quite runny, almost like pouring cream, because you want it to, when you slice the lamb, you're going to get this to like pour over the lamb and like move between all the little slices. So the water is just there to thin it out, make it pourable. And it depends on how thick you like it. So if you like it like this, you can stop there. But I like it a bit runnier. And obviously, if the amount of water in the recipe is not enough to get it to your consistency, that's fine as well. But I'd say this is about right for me. So if you can see that, about that consistency. Okay, so there we go. We got our tahini. We got our tomato salad. You can just go on the wide there quickly, Nick, to show us, what the 3 salads should look like. There, let me move them. Here we go. I think you can see them now. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's the herbs. Okay. Oh, no, you can't. Whoa. All right. So my lamb is definitely done. I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to let it rest for like 2 minutes. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to carve it shawarma style. I think it's ready. Looks ready. So check that out. And Nick, if you can pull the normal view again. There we go. That's the magic we're looking for.
Beautiful.
Okay. So now if you are ready to serve and you've set your table, this is kind of the time to tidy up, clean up a bit. get your plates ready. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get my little round board. It's my show board. Put my little cloth underneath it.
Jono, how do you and Kate choose who cleans that griddle pan? Is it a Fives Alive or what's the vibe?
The griddle pan. Jeez. Griddle pan we leave to soak overnight, and then it actually comes off very easily. So the trick with a griddle pan is actually to, while it's stinking hot, you drop it into soapy water, and what it does is it actually like boils the dirt off itself. And if you leave it to soak, any little bits of dirt that are left over clean themselves off. So it's not really a debate. But I've found that if you leave it in the dishwasher after leaving it to soak, usually it takes care of itself. So yeah, we don't often fight about that. Like we fight about things like who chops the onions, who chops the garlic. Kate has the habit of always, being really busy doing like peppers or tomatoes or something. And then she's like, oh, why don't you just chop me an onion? And I only picked up on it like 3 years into our marriage that I'd never actually seen her chop an onion, because she always gives me the dirty work.
No, that's not right. Eh?
No, it's not right. It's not right. We had words, but we've come to an agreement now, which is that I will continue to chop the onions. So we're basically ready to serve. I think what I missed out earlier is that if you wanted to toast your carbohydrates, now's a good time to toast your carbohydrates. And obviously, I don't have any today, so I'm gonna plate up. And I just want to get the right camera angle here, because there's a bit of these. There we go. So this is cool. I'm gonna just do this for now. I wish I had like more camera here. Anyway, Nick, you can drop the comments, because then everyone can see what I'm doing on my board. There we go. Okay. So, like you've seen, so make sure your knife is super, super sharp. And then just like you've seen in the, in the kebab shops and what have you, you want to basically shave off bits of lamb. Exactly like a doner kebab.
You're right. This is straight back to Gap here, yeah, for me.
Hey?
This is straight back to Mykonos, which was the little Greek spot that was still open at 4 a.m. in Tasmania, where I was doing my Gap year.
Well, doing Tasmania and Gap year is already something we need to talk about at a later stage, I think. So take your knife, make sure you're getting a good long, long angle, long slide through the meat, and just chop it up like this. You can obviously just pull all the pieces off, but what you get here is a good combination of like raw and cooked and charred and not charred. And these nice little pieces are going to be, brilliant in whatever you're eating them with. This one's actually perfect for Kate, but I'm going to put mine back in because I want it to be cooked slightly more.
Johnny, can we see the consistency there of your tarator?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put it over here so you can see here. There we go. Wait.
No, the consistency of your tarator, that sauce.
Oh, sorry, I thought you just said my. Okay. Wait, let's get the light in there. Can you see that? Or maybe it's better if I show you here.
Okay, yeah, we got you. Astrid, you got that? Good.
Yeah.
My lamb's looking pretty dirty, I'll be honest with you.
That's good. I'm excited.
How's this one?
Let's have a look. Yes, that's exactly it. That's awesome.
Smells naughty.
So now what you can see is obviously it's like kind of overcooked on the outside, but if you look here, you can see it's like pink and rare in the middle. So you want to carve all the way down to the bone, all the way around. And basically until you're done, until you get to the bone. And then once you're at the bone, you just cut it off. See, this is actually a bit under, I'm afraid. I think Kate would probably still dig it, but I'm a bit sensitive. Got a sensitive palate when it comes to like really undercooked lamb. So I'm just going to pop that back in. So now we build our plate. And as a low carber, obviously we don't have a carb in sight. And you can choose whichever you'd like to put on first. But basically, what's going to go first for me? I'm going to put the cabbage salad in first. There we go. What's up? Are you back? Are you starving? Well, you've come at the right time. And then I'm going to put some tomato salad down. This is going to be so good. Oh my goodness. And then we're going to put our, and this is for you, by the way, because this is the slightly more rare lamb. Put our lamb on top. And obviously, this is how you would stack it in your roll. And then tarator. Look, Ron, I'm gonna be honest. Like the tarator needs to be slightly thinner. So I'm sorry, but I lied to you.
Well, that's good because our tarator is extremely thin.
It's got to be thin enough to kind of like fall through all the cracks. So if it is thinner, then that's great. I just wish I had a spoon I could serve it with. Here we go. The tahini spoon.
I would say no crack is too thin for our tarator.
Okay, so here we go. Now we just put it over. And you can always add more tahini here. That'll thicken it up again. But if you've used all of it, then that's also a sad shame.
No, we've only used a hand of it, so there's still a bit left.
Cool. There we go. So that is the shawarma, lamb shawarma, cabbage salad, char-grilled cabbage salad, char-grilled tomato relish, shawarma lamb or shish kebab lamb, or what else? Doner kebab lamb, and tahini.
Beautiful.
And that's it. Any last words, Ron?
No, thanks for having me, and thanks for having the team out here. We look forward to training again in the near future. But yeah, I'm still interested to hear what your plans are for this wild run. I think you need to get hold of Leon, and he needs to give you a plan there for.
Yeah, I agree. I do need to get training again. So what I wanted to finish off with was, if you're interested in joining the Black River CrossFit community, you can check out blackrivercrossfit.co.za. That's right, eh?
Yeah.
And follow. And how do we get hold of you on Instagram and Facebook?
You can slide into our DMs. You can give Mo a little phone call. All the details on our website.
Okay.
So
all right. And
if
then
you want to get, it'll be easy.
Great stuff. And then if you are interested in having another cook along, obviously you can just make sure you like and follow this page, the Jono at the Jono Proudfoot. And if you did cook along, whether you're with Black River or you're one of my people, please leave a comment, share the post, and add pictures of your dinner, and preferably pictures of you smashing whatever you've created tonight in the comments, so that we can see how many people joined and what you've been up to in your kitchen. So thanks very much for a fantastic cook along. Ron, thanks very much for joining me. Thank you, Panthers, for joining. And everyone, I hope you stay fit, keep it real, and keep healthy. Check you soon.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Johnny.
Cool, man. Bye.
Cheers.